Good evening and welcome to the Business Day. I'm Javon Keys. The world is falling short on its Sustainable Development Goals, SDGs, with extreme poverty and economic instability persisting in vulnerable nations. The Jamaican government has touted partnerships with international agencies for sustainability and financial restraint. Meanwhile, Barbados has renewed calls for more funding to help small nations. Ramada Lyons is covering the Summit of the Future in New York.
Jamaica, the hallmark of monetary restraint, the words of the government. During an event as part of the Summit of the Future in New York, Prime Minister Andrew Holness says the country is a prime example of a nation that maintains strict financial discipline, allowing it to navigate hardship.
I think that Jamaica could be cited as an example of a country that maintained fiscal discipline, built in buffers, and took the necessary steps to build resilience in its economy to be able to respond to unexpected crises and shocks.
He said Jamaica struck deals with the International Monetary Fund, IMF, and the World Bank. And after those deals,
we focused on a development program, which was sponsored by both the IMF and the World Bank. And then the government committed to a fiscal path and stuck to it. Clearly, the COVID pandemic would have set us back. But within the fiscal program, we built in resilience. So we ensured that our economy was able to respond to shocks.
The World Bank's managing director for operations said,
the need for money, for liquidity, for dealing with all the competing priorities is really pressing. So I don't think we can underestimate the need for volume of money for the developing world. And here, the World Bank has been working hard to be able to provide funding both for its middle-income countries through what we call IBRD, but also for the poorest and most vulnerable through our International Development Association, IDA.
There have been numerous global crises that have left many economies wounded. As for Jamaica,
we were able to respond to the COVID pandemic and the subsequent shocks that followed, the supply side shocks, supply chain shocks, the energy shocks. And then recently, we had another shock, which was Hurricane Beryl, and we were able to respond to that.
Prime Minister of Barbados, Mia Mottley, also said nations have been facing many challenges in recent years, a specific pain to Bajans, Hurricane Beryl, and constant floodings. In her estimation,
lurching from one end to the other extreme, all within the same year. And of course, that has implications for agriculture, it has implications for infrastructure, it has implications for people's living. And these things are not going to await the slow, deliberate consultation of bureaucracy until we get there, because in the meantime, lives are being lost and livelihoods are being compromised.
So where money is concerned, Ms. Mottley argued that
we cannot continue using short-term money to fuel development. And that is why the SDGs are only 17% on track. Now, if we keep doing the same thing the same way, then don't expect different. Einstein told us it's the definition of madness.
Meanwhile, a question for Mr. Holness.
How do we get the economy to grow rapidly, to deliver on the prosperity promise to our people? And that's the challenge. And that is where we tie in all of the SDG goals. How do we get our economy to be able to deliver on the SDG goals? And a key part of that is growth. And I believe that the multilateral financial system has a role to play in taking a very forward-leaning posture in ensuring that the global financial architecture is supportive of countries like Jamaica.
Ramada Lyons, TVJ News.
Thanks, Ramada. To other news now, MoneyGram International says it's working to resume normal business operations globally after identifying a cybersecurity issue affecting aspects of its system. In a release on social media platforms Facebook and X earlier today, the international peer-to-peer payments and money transfer company said upon detection of the threat, it, quote, immediately launched an investigation and took proactive steps to address it. It says it took systems offline, which has impacted network connectivity. On September 21, MoneyGram confirmed on X that it was experiencing a network outage and it was working to better understand the nature and scope of the issue. Over the last 3 days, several users in Jamaica have complained about not being able to use the system in person and online. A restoration timeline has not been provided. Now, MoneyGram serves more than 50 million people in more than 200 countries and territories each year, processing more than $200 billion annually. The Bank of Jamaica says local primary agents have confirmed that they are in close communication with MoneyGram and will resume operations as soon as the firm advises. To the markets now, the Jamaican dollar gained 72 cents compared to the U.S. currency at the close of trading today after the Bank of Jamaica pumped $30 million into the market via a flash sale. Trading ended today with banks and cambios selling the American dollar for an average $157.92. The Canadian is going for $117.66. $211.54 is the average value of the pound, while the euro is trading for an average $177.08. The JSE main index gained 2,750 points today, while the junior market index lost 15 points. Leading the 52 winners were 138 Student Living Jamaica Variable Preference shares, Trans Jamaican Highway 8% shares, Jetcon Corporation, Guardian Holdings, and The Lab. The 42 losers included Caribbean Cream, Cigna's Credit Investments, 8% US dollar preference shares, Honeybun, Caribbean Assurance Brokers, and Berger Paints Jamaica. 18 stocks closed the session selling at the same price they started trading. And that's the business day. I'm Javon Keys. Good evening.